my mic doesn't like that at all. So if
Don't
I cut
worry,
out,
bro. Don't worry, bro.
Why
We
is
can
it
tell.
outside? Ew.
because I like the fresh air and whatever. But yeah, basically the idea is so the point of fine tuning, what you get an update in favor of is bare design, right? Now, a bare design hypothesis is just a hypothesis where it says that there's something that is responsible for the way that the universe is and the universe existing, et cetera, et cetera. Now, okay, so suppose that the naturalist just grants, okay, you get an update in favor of bare design conditional on fine tuning. Well, okay, so now you have to ask yourself, which design hypothesis gets a stronger update conditional on fine tuning? Well, so there's kind of three main competitors. There's theism, and then there's simulation, and there's like deism, whatever. But what I'm going to focus on is theism and simulation. So, okay, ask yourself, which would get a stronger update, simulation or theism? Well, the answer upon deliberation is obviously simulation. Uh, First of all, the abductive case about how agents tend to act is stronger for simulators because they have limited minds. And those are the kinds of minds we're using as data in the abductive case. Second, it's an ontologically simpler hypothesis, et cetera, et cetera. It's also like a less weighty hypothesis. Okay, and so now ask yourself, I've updated on fine-tuning now. Now, which am I more confident in? Naturalism. Well, personally, even after updating on fine-tuning, I'm more confident in naturalism still. And we've already established that conditional on fine-tuning, we're more confident in simulation than we are in theism. And so it would just follow transitively that if I'm more confident in naturalism than I am in simulation, and I'm more confident in simulation than I am in theism, then I'm more confident in naturalism than I am in theism. And then that would just follow to naturalism wins out over theism, even given the fine-tuning argument.
Okay, so you're basically saying that when we talk about your argument, you're basically saying that there's going to be some update for bare design. Bare design is going to be that we see that there's something responsible for the universe's creation. The competitors are going to be theism, naturalism, and simulation theory. You're going to be saying that upon inspection or deliberation, the bare design hypothesis will get a bigger update for simulation theory over theism, and there's going to be some abductive case for the simulation theorists. It's going to be more lightweight. It's also going to be simpler ontologically, and you're also saying that gives us reason to believe for there being some bigger update. You also said that is going to be the case that even after updating on fine tuning, you'd be more confident in naturalism than theism. So when you talk about this update talk, wait, are we debating here or like what's the? Because this has been
If you guys are seeming to disagree, you guys can debate, and I'll
I don't know if we're debating.
Yo, Lex, are you out of breath, bro? Are you good?
Okay,
I'm walking outside
oh
right
my
now.
God. Okay, you guys
Yeah,
can
'cause
debate if you want.
how I debate is okay, because like how I go about this is gonna be like dependent on if it's a debate or discussion. But since it's a debate, I'm gonna be asking you to motivate the given I'm just gonna be asking you to motivate the given probability model that you're gonna be invoking there. Because I don't think that I should grant that we should even
Wait,
take
do you
this
guys
type of
have
thing.
a set judge or?
No, I don't think we'd agree. I mean, I don't think we'd agree on judges because they're probably gonna want like
probably.
Sue DeFleur.
What about polls?
I mean, I can like send it to.
No.
I can maybe see if Eric would look over it.
I don't agree with Eric. He's biased, but like yeah, I don't think we'd agree on judges because they're gonna want like Synth and Eric, and I'm gonna want like Infinity and Tron, and there's just gonna be no middle ground.
Yeah, I mean, I could what's it? I don't think we need it. Like, I don't think. I don't care much
for our
about
server, if you debate and you want your record to show that you won or lost.
Well, I don't really care about the record for this debate.
Okay, well, you guys can just discuss that.
But yeah, so I'm just gonna ask you to motivate the given probability model that you're invoking there when you talk about updating. I'm gonna need some reason as to why we should adopt that. I'm also gonna need the reasonability for why we should even expect these certain updated models. You're gonna be saying that there's going to be some reasoning. I'm gonna ask why the reasoning actually applies in the way that you're going to be invoking it. Because you said right that there's going to be competitors, and that when we deliberate upon these competitors, these types of things are going to be reasons to believe in some, you just say simulation theory, but I want you to, give reasonability for that. You also said
Yeah.
that you're gonna be more confident in these types of things. I'm gonna need you to motivate why we can't just be some sort of eliminativist about these types of states, like maybe psychological states or phenomenal states, because again, I think that's being assumed there. Excuse me. You also said like I don't know if you're gonna try to go down this route again, but you also said you could be some sort of illusionist. I would need motivation for that view as well. Because I don't even know why illusionism is gonna be some type of thing which posits opposes some sort of attack relation to what I'm saying. So you can respond now.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna go point by point here. Just get clear. Whenever you ask me to motivate my fucking theory of probability or whatever, what would you take a motivation to be there? Like, what would I
Yeah,
have
I would
to?
take. Yeah, I would just take a motivation to be reasons to believe in something. So, for example, if I'm trying to motivate, like, let's say if I'm trying to
Well,
motivate
right. And
phenomenal
wait,
conservatism,
just
maybe I'll
what's the
say that
reason?
we adopt phenomenal conservatism because it best exhausts justification.
Wait,
So,
but
if
but what's the reason?
you said what's the reason?
Right, because I understand a reason to just be some fact which raises the probability of some hypothesis or something like that. And then, so if you're asking me to give a reason in
I mean, we
favor
can
of
go with that
my
semantic
theory,
token as well. Just give something that boosts the probability of the given model being
wait,
adopted within the given
right.
scheme.
But wait. But the issue is, so whenever you ask me, give a reason in favor of my theory of probability, any reason that I give uh, will hold in the background my theory of probability, right? Just in virtue of the way that reasons work. So what you're asking me here is to give you a reason for my theory of probability, assuming my theory of probability. Right now, maybe I can give you like examples of it working. So, like for example, uh, whenever whenever I like look outside and I see the sky is blue a lot, and I understand climate science or whatever, I have reason to believe that if I walk outside tomorrow, the sky will be blue or whatever. But the issue is that fundamentally, given you're giving this kind of objection, you can disagree with everything that I'm saying on the basis that everything that I'm saying uh, it will in some way assume the theory of probability I'm applying. Right now, unless you accept kind of practical proofs, but then the issue is also you would disagree with the practical proofs fundamentally, right? And so there's not really any way for either of us to go about this conversation if we're not using probability if we're not using the probability at least somewhat similarly. And if we're using the probability even somewhat similarly, then I don't see a reason to motivate my theory of probability, strictly because I don't see, I'm not familiar with a popular theory of probability that wouldn't or that wouldn't have my argument follow given it, right? So the issue is that, so there's a double bind that you put yourself into here. Either we're just going to go into a regress, and then I'm just going to say I'm just going to say you're being bad faith, or I give practical proofs, and then if I give practical proofs, you can disagree with them on the basis that they assume my theory of probability in the background. And then also there's a third option, that being I don't do this at all. There's no point in doing this. We just assume neutral semantics about probability and go about what's intuitive about probability, and then it's just obvious that my argument follows.
Okay, so the first thing you said, right, is that okay, I'll just like break it down like this. The whole thing is that you're trying to say it's problematic to go about the debate this way. I don't even grant that. That's like something that's unmotivated as well. Obviously, I'll just recap when we talk about motivation, we're talking about reasons to believe. When we talk about reasons, you're going to be saying there's going to be some given inference or inferences that will boost some sort of we could just say boost some acceptability conditions, or you could just say boost some agreements with some given acceptability conditions. So, for example, let's just use your analogy where you're saying the sky is blue. Obviously, there are going to be these type of heuristics, right, or these certain things that are going to be adoptable within the given scheme. Like, for example, we could just say scientific studies. We can say our perception for, like, examples, say these type of things could be taken as some reasons to believe X. I'm not putting those into question insofar as I'm denying they are reasons, at least at the prima facie or the object level. But if we are to go into the meta level, then yeah, those type of things would get put into question. So to recap, all I'm saying, right, is that's going to be the case that we have no actual reason to grant that these are even motivations, because when you say, oh, well, I'm just giving my motivation for X, that's what's being put into question. And the only reason I ask for the motivation is because I don't take it to be the case that the types of things which are unmotivated, reasonably so, are going to be the types of things which are granted in the conversation. Now, obviously, you can make idiosyncratic arguments like, oh well, your existence isn't motivated, but I don't take it to be the type of thing that if my existence is unmotivated, then that poses some sort of attack relation. You need to give some relevancy relation there, and there is no relevancy relation there.
Okay, note that Hero didn't respond to the main point of what I said. So, what I said, or at least primarily, is that so the question, can you give a reason in favor of your theory of probability, is a loaded question, right? And the reason for that is because in the concept of reason is baked into it a theory of probability. We both agree that a reason is understood as something that raises the probability of some hypothesis or some proposition, all else equal, right? We agree with that. Now, whenever Hero asks me to give him a reason in favor of my theory of probability, so the issue is that fundamentally, Hero can disagree with any reason that I give him on the basis that he holds a different theory of probability, right? Because that's just what reason is understood as. So fundamentally, there is no way for me to give a reason, at least not one that would motivate Hero. The thing is, on my with respect to my argument, I don't think that you have to assume my specific theory of probability, right? On most relevant theories of probability, my argument succeeds, and Hero also didn't respond to that. I don't think Hero understands the point that I'm making. The point is just that either Hero has to agree that the question he's asking is impossible to answer, in which case, if there's a question that is impossible to answer, I'm not sure if people in the current community view that as substance or something, but like in philosophy, philosophers just disregard questions like that. Like they don't care. Now, the other thing that he could do is he could admit that the question is irrelevant. We can just read probability neutrally, and then we can continue and go about the way that probability works intuitively. And now, since I think that that's the end of this point, because I don't think I've heard any response to what I'm saying at all. So the second thing, let's just jump over to the point about how he thinks that my view supposes that there are phenomenal states. Well, that's not true. I'm an illusionist. I don't think there are phenomenal states. And the reason for this is because I'm a subjective Bayesian. Now, let's just get clear. All I understand subjective to be is dependent on a mind. And I don't understand mind to be strictly referring to phenomenal states. Whenever I use the term mind, I can just point to like brains or whatever, or brain-like things. And then and then on my view, that would just be a subjective thing. Like if the probability is dependent on some brain-like thing, then it's subjective, and that would arise that there's some subjective probability. Now, what Hero's going to try and say is that, well, he just doesn't know what it means for something to be subjective and not have phenomenal states. But I've made it very clear. I've strictly and succinctly given an account of subjective probabilities that don't rely on phenomenal states. And I'll just let Heroes talk now.
Hero, wake up, nigga. Hero. Wait, just because
Hero, wake up,
Bro, I'm literally like doing something, bro. Relax. Hold on.
Take your time, bro. Don't let the people in here be weird.
That's my man.
WGBT, nigger.
Hero,
ChatGPT
just
رضي
so
الله.
you know, and Yugi, basically, someone told me that they're gonna come in the server and kill you guys if you debate.
Yo, okay,
Hey,
so
Nene, shut up, little nigger ass.
Oh shit, Nini, you gotta let that slide. This guy's insulting.
okay, wait, relax. So can you just repeat what you were saying? Like, just nip it up in the bud so that it wasn't like 3 minutes of you just rambling. Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I want to note that that wasn't rhetorical at all. But second of all, so all I said was that you missed the point. The point is that the question, quote, can I give a reason in favor of my theory of probability, is strictly unanswerable, right? Because for any reason that I give, you can dismiss it just on the basis that you take a different theory of probability, because we agree that reasons are just things that raise the probability of a hypothesis, right? Now, suppose like I'm a subjective Asian. Imagine you take like evil subjective Asianism or something, where you just you just understand probability exactly in the opposite way that I do. Well, you would think that anything that I give would not be a reason in favor of my view, right? Strictly speaking, because you think that, or strictly speaking, because you think that, probability works in a different way, right? And so, usually in philosophy, what happens is whenever a question like that is asked, where it's unanswerable, what we do is we dismiss it. right? We just ignore those kinds of questions. And now I jumped over to the point about phenomenal states or whatever. You thinking that because I'm a subjective Bayesian, my view relies on phenomenal states existing. Well, no, that's not true. I'm an illusionist. And illusionism is the view that there are no phenomenal states, and we're in error in the belief that we have phenomenal states. Now, I understand subjective to just be dependent on a mind, and I understand minds to be something like I understand minds to be something like brain-like things. At least that's the secondary intention of the term mind. And so then I can just say, okay, the probabilities that I'm espousing to you, they are emergent of a brain-like thing. That being that, they come from my brain. And so then there's no internal contradiction there because it is subjective, at least on my understanding of the term subjective.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you said the point is that the question, can you give a reason for your theory of probability, is unanswerable. I just take it to be the case that that is false. You need to motivate why it's going to be some unanswerable question, because I could just posit a couple things, right? Maybe I deny the semantics, or I ask you to motivate the given semantic schema. Maybe I ask you, why is it going to be the case that I can't adopt some epistemic circularity? So I don't take it to be the case that it's impossible. I just think that you simply see no reason, which is why you said that we dismiss unanswerable questions. I also don't grant that we dismiss these types of questions. You need to motivate that as well. I don't know why it's going to be the case that we even can adopt illusionism as a concept or anything within the given space of reasons. You also need to motivate illusionism. I don't grant illusionism. And again, just to recap, you're trying to say, right, your entire argument is that we have higher priors, or we just have some sort of expectability for a given hypothesis, or we have some you could just say that we're more confident in these types of things. I just take confident talk to be some propositional thing which is reliant on some given theory of probability that is unmotivated insofar as the conversation is gone. Again, I could adopt some different semantics of reason, or I just say that our reason is some like justification for a given action, or I could just say that our reason is going to be we could just say that our reason, yeah, it's just some like we could just say that it's some justification for some given action or like belief state or whatever. But even then, I'd ask you to motivate why it's the case that you have justification for the given model there. So I'm just asking you, whatever you take motivation to be, or when you say that a view is going to be justified or motivated, I want you to explain, demonstrate, and reasonably guide us to why that's going to be the case. Because insofar as the conversation is going, I don't think you're actually positing some sort of attack relation here. You're just kind of saying that, well, these type of things can't be answered because well, actually, you didn't give the reason, but I already asked you for the reason, so I guess I'll get that after I'm done. So you can now reply.
Oh, okay, so now let's just move through the bullshit that Hero just said. So, first of all, his response to what I said about the probability, it just didn't respond at all. He asked for a reason to believe that it's unanswerable when I gave it in the last thing that I said. And I'll just say it again. So, what I said is that it's unanswerable, strictly speaking, because we both adopt reasons to be understood as something which raises the probability of some hypothesis. Right? We both agree that that's what reason means. Now, okay, so suppose that that's true. If you ask me for a reason in favor of my theory of probability, then systemically, if I give any reason in favor of it, you can dismiss it on the grounds that you adopt some different theory of probability. Right? And now suppose that I give a reason and you accept that it is a reason. Well, then the issue is that if you accept that it is a reason, implicitly that accepts my theory of probability. So either you deny it on the grounds that you disagree with me, or you grant it on the grounds that you agree with me, right? Now, you might want to say like, oh, well, if the argument is that any reasoning will be circular, then you agree. And right, yes, I agree that I agree that the kinds of reasons I would give are circular, right? I think that the kinds of reasons you give in favor of theories of probability are either practical ones or intuitive ones, right? And if it's an intuitive reason, well, all intuitive reasons will eventually be circular because there's some notion held in the background about the way that someone thinks the probability works, and then the reason just appeals to that, right? And I've already given examples of those kinds of reasons that appeal to intuitions, right? Like, for example, if I know the way that climate science works, and I like go outside and I see, the the sky being blue or whatever, then I'll expect it strongly to be that the sky will be blue tomorrow, right? That's an example of Bayesianism doing good work. And now, okay, let's the other shit. The issue is that whenever you ask to give me any sort of justification or any sort of whatever, that I just understand that to be asking me to give reasons again. And then we've already given the issue with you asking me to give reasons. And then and then okay, so you move to, oh, well, why would I grant illusionism? Well, hey, hero, retard. Illusionism is a type of eliminativism, right? It's specifically eliminativism about qualia. It's a very specific kind of it. So if you ask me to give reasons in favor of illusionism, where I can just replace illusionism with any kind of eliminativism, the point is that what you're saying is that the point is that what you're saying is compatible with my view, right? And so if you ask me to motivate my view, that's that's you asking me to motivate, or that's me asking, or that's you asking me to motivate what is meant to be a counterexample to my view, right? You forgot the thing that you were trying to say yourself. The thing that you were trying to say is that eliminativism about qualia is strictly incompatible with my view, when it's obviously not. And so, okay, so let's just replace illusionism with eliminativism. Do you have anything you have to say now? Because I can just say I'm an eliminativist, because I am. I don't know what you're doing here. We can move on, and you're gonna do some random shit about that wasn't rhetorical or whatever, and I'm gonna call it out now. So whenever you say it, it hits less hard. Okay, you can go now.
Catch your breath,
Yeah, I
nigger.
love how you
Damn.
tried to precog something that was never going to be said. Anyways, I'll just continue on the substance since you like rambling. You said that the response I gave doesn't respond. You can definitely motivate that or give reasons for that. I don't grant that. You said it's going to be unanswerable because we both adopt the reasons to be some metric of probability. Again, I don't even know how you justify that claim. That's just something else that you unwillingly burdened yourself with because, again, you don't know how to debate, which is why all of your superiors, known as Synth and Fleur, have also gotten dunked on by me. So let's keep going. You also said it's going to be systematically wrong when we talk about the types of talks regarding probability if we're trying to index some given reasons to adopt a given thing, because all you take reasons to be is some probability metric, which just falls back on itself again because I just gave a different semantic token for reasons. You're not really tracking. You said either you deny it on the grounds that you disagree or agree, or agree with it on the grounds that you agree. I mean, that's kind of trivial. I would take it to be the case that if I agree, I'm going to agree, and if I if I disagree, I'm going to deny it. I don't know why you needed to say that. It just seems like you were trying to fill the talking time to make yourself seem more appealing, but it didn't work. You also said I motivated intuitions through an example of Bayesianism, or I motivated Bayesianism just by demonstrating it. I don't grant that the demonstration is going to be something which functions as motivation. I don't even grant that when you talk about motivation, it's going to be something that we're adopting in a given schema, or the dialectic. You need to motivate that as well. You also said that you can replace illusionism with any type of eliminativism. I want you to motivate that as well, because I don't grant that you can even do that. That's going to be a burden on you, because when you talk about replacing the framework that's in question, I'm going to need some motivation for why are you even going to take this framework to be something that is even going to be motivated or even having some power here, whether it's argumentative, stipulative, or any type of things among these type of argumentative virtues. Again, just to repeat for the person who will watch this recording, or the people who will watch this recording, your argument is that when we're trying to get an update for Bear Design is going to be something that states there is, something responsible for the universe creation. When we have the three competitors, theism, naturalism, and simulation theory, you're going to say that there's going to be a bigger update for simulation theory over theism. I asked for the reasons for that. You tried to give reasons for that by saying there's going to be some abductive case. Their minds would be like ours. It's just simply ontologically. I need you to justify all of that. I don't grant any of that. That's in question. Again, I don't grant that there's even going to be a bigger update. I don't even grant the model of probability you're invoking here. You're also going to need to justify that. I already justified why you can motivate these types of things. Even if it's going to be the case that it's circular, I can say that there wouldn't be any reasonability to adopt some sort of vicious circularity on that part. So you're just begging the question. Again, it could be a dichotomy of circularity, but I don't think that Synth taught you that. So again, you're rambling. You also said that it would, even after updating on fine-tuning, we would be more confident in naturalism than theism. That was not motivated. You need to motivate, one, why it's going to be the case that we're more confident in naturalism than theism, and two, why it's even going to be the case that we should adopt this again. You said that illusionism is going to be something that responds to psychological eliminativism. I don't grant that. You need to prove that. And again, you just saying it's unanswerable, it doesn't actually provide some articulation of what I'm saying. If you don't say anything relevant after I talk, aka your response, then we can conclude, man.
Okay, so this is another instance of me having to pick through the weeds of retardation and try and fucking deforest all of this bullshit. So first of all, he's still confused on the point about probability. He said that what I said is that if he agrees with me, then he'll agree with me, and if he disagrees with me, then he'll disagree with me. Right? I don't think he got the point of what I was saying there. What I was saying is that any reason that I give in favor of my view will be strictly and swiftly denied, or will be strictly and swiftly denied by anyone who adopts any other theory of probability, given the understanding of reasons we gave earlier. And now here I said, oh well, I gave a different semantic token for reason earlier, and whatever. Retard. You are on recording agreeing that that's what reason means. If you want to like backtrack and act as though you didn't say that earlier, it's on recording. You agreed with me whenever I said that's what reason means. You're now trying to rat and find your way out of this because you realize the retarded question you asked was retarded, right? Now, okay, so I finally fucking swiftly and succinctly and clearly bitched that point. Now, let's move to the other points. You asked me, well, why would you think that you can replace illusionism with illuminativism? Well, okay, so let's go through what illuminativism is. So illuminativism about qualia is just the view that there is no qualia. It's just a view that qualia does not exist. Okay, now let's look at illusionism. So illusionism is the view that there is no qualia, and on top of that, we have a belief that we have phenomenal states or qualia. So you asking me, well, why can you replace illusionism with illuminativism broadly? Because illusionism is a type of illuminativism. Retard. I actually explained that earlier, and you didn't hear it because you're a retard. And now let's move to the final thing. You asked me, okay, motivate why it would be better, or motivate everything I said about fine tuning with respect to simulation versus theism. Well, okay, so let's go through it. So the abductive case I was talking about is the abductive case given for all design hypotheses predicting fine tuning. That being that agents or designers or minds tend to want to create other minds, or they tend to want to create life, or whatever. Right? That's the abductive case I'm pointing to. So if you deny that abductive case succeeds, an update in favor of theism. And then if you deny that you get an update in favor of theism, then my argument succeeds because fine tuning fails. And then naturalism just has higher priors than theism because it's more simple. Right? Okay, and so everything that you've come to here has eventually fallen in on itself. Okay, now there was another thing you asked me. It was something like, why would I believe that simulation is more ontologically simple? Well, the answer is because, it doesn't posit a limitless mind that's non-physical or whatever. You can be strictly physicalist and be a simulation theorist, right? And so let's go through what ontological simplicity is. Ontological simplicity is just whenever something is ontologically simple, it's just that it posits less kinds of things. There's no new kind of thing that is posited by simulation, but there is a new kind of thing that's posited by theism, that being a non-physical limitless mind. Okay, and so that's the reason to believe that simulation is more ontologically simple than theism. Okay, and then you like made another point about how you deny the theory of probability being discussed or whatever. Yes, I agree you deny it. And I already told you why. I can't give reasons for it. And then the one intuition pump I gave, you haven't given any reason to deny it at all. You've given no reason to think that it's not an intuition pump in favor of subjectivationism. Right? At every point, you stumbled over yourself. You stepped on the rake over and over again. I've hit you in the fucking face over and over again. Your nose is bleeding. You're on the ground. Your legs are naked. You're terrified of me right now. And so now what I'm going to do again is I'm going to pass the mic over you. And you're going to get this again. And then you're going to say, a look at a quote. And then everyone's going to say, and they're all going to say you won because they're all biased. That's what's going to happen.
I want to make your leg shake.
Make a shake.
Yeah, that's just okay. That's just like bad rhetoric, but I'm gonna ignore your feeble attempts to appeal to the crowd. They're obviously not reciprocating. I'm just gonna continue. You said only like a couple of relevant things. The first one being ontological simplicity. I'm gonna ask you to motivate why we should actually take that to be some heuristic or some theoretical virtue here in the space of reasons that's going to talk about these types of things. Because all we talk about when we talk about these theoretical virtues are some reasons to adopt a thesis over another. I don't know why I should grant that. I could just run some ontological erosion there, where it's going to be the case that you collapse yourself when you try to apply parsimony, which you obviously don't know about. And I don't even know why I would grant parsimony. no explanatory power for the reasonability for your claims or the positions in general being equal. Because low tier, when people apply parsimony, it's on the guise that there is equal explanatory power. You haven't demonstrated that. You're begging the question. I need you to lock in. You also said if you deny the abductive case, then naturalism is more expected than theism for the same reason that it's simpler. One, I don't grant that it's simpler. You need to motivate that. And two, I don't even grant that the abductive case being denied here is going to be some reasonability for naturalism passing. We need to motivate that as well. You also said I can't give reason for it, which is a blatant fucking concession, you retard fuck. If it's going to be the case that you can't give reasons for it, then you agree that you have no motivation for the claim. If you have no motivation for the claim, it's just going to be the case that these types of things are going to be unmotivated and I don't have to grant them. You also said that you're trying to invoke some sort of ontological parsimony. I just disagree with that because when we try to employ these types of things, it's going to not exist, or rather, it's going to exist at the same quantitative level in both hypotheses. So I can just dismiss all of that. With that rejection as well, I'm going to continue beating you up because more people joined the VC. You tagged your little goon squad and they're cheering for you. So I'm going to continue to give you the cheer that you want. To be clear, the proposition you're defending is that seemingly so, we're going to have some reasonability to adopt naturalism or expect naturalism over theism. The reason for that was this rinky-dink chain scale you gave, where it's going to be the case that we have naturalism over simulation theory over theism. I deny that. You need to motivate why we're even going to be taking the probability talk to be something that's motivated here insofar as I can't just posit some, we could just say some rinky-dink attack relation or some relevant attack relation, which I have by denying it, and you haven't actually fulfilled it. You even said that it's going to be the case that we're going to be more confident. I want you to motivate those type of things. You said that the abductive case is going to lead to it being more lightweight. I want you to motivate that as well. You also tried to bring in illusionism talk. I want you to motivate illusionism and why it won't collapse. Granted, the rejection I gave, which is that if you're trying to invoke subjective fucking Bayesianism, we can have these phenomenal states. In fact, I would just posit that you fucking conceded by denying these types of things, because if that's the case, you can't use the probability model that you're utilizing. You dumb fuck retard. So, in short, you need to motivate all of that, and you need to give the reasoning for why. It can't be the case that me agreeing that it can be the case semantically speaking, because I'm going to touch on that. You tried to slip that in by saying that I agreed on the semantics of reason. I said it can be. We can take it to be the case. Just like I posited another set of semantics, or another semantic token. I said it can be the case that we also take reasons to mean this. And I also said it can be the case, right, that I could just deny the space of reasons regarding this type of thing altogether, but you didn't track that because you're low tier, and also don't grant that is going to be some circularity that you can't dig yourself out of, at least reasonably so. Because again, I said we could adopt some epistemic circularity upon this type of talk and it won't be problematic, but you didn't track that. So if you don't have anything else to say, we can move to conclusions. You're fucking dipshit low tier, 50 IQ retard, storm Vic.
Oh
Is
no,
this basically what
nigga.
rhetoric is like nowadays? Like, is this rhetoric in the current column? Are we serious? Okay, so let's move through everything. The illusionism point, I already explained to Hero why why him denying illusionism is not an attack, because the point of bringing up illusionism was to say that I, in fact, am an eliminativist, right? I am one, and so my view is at least probably consistent, given I consistently don't hold self-contradictory views. And then he's like, well, why would that not contradict? Well, I actually explained that earlier in the debate. I explained why it doesn't internally contradict earlier in the debate, and you didn't hear it because you're a retard. And this is consistent. Throughout this debate, what has happened is I explain something, I give a reason for believing it, and then Hero, in his next retard ramble, says, well, I do have a reason to believe that, as if I didn't give one 5 minutes prior. Right, that is consistent. That is the cycle of this debate, right? And so now, okay, so you said that I was conceding that I can't give reasons in favor of my theory of probability. Retard. The point is that you can't give reasons in favor of any theory of probability, because reasons are understood as things that raise the probability of some hypothesis. And then, so if I were to give any reason and someone just disagrees with my theory of probability, they can disagree with the reason no matter what it is on the grounds that they hold a different theory of probability. Surely you don't think that's a substantive disagreement, though. That's the point. The point is the kind of disagreement you're giving is non-substantive. Now, okay, so okay, well, he said, I haven't given reason in favor of anything that I'm saying. Well, I clearly have, and everyone has heard it. I gave a reason in favor of my theory of probability. I give a reason in favor of everything. It clearly has been reasons in favor of everything. Now, the ontological parsimony point, why should you adopt parsimony? Well, okay, I can give kind of clear intuitive cases of it. Right? Note that I don't think that there are I don't think parsimony is a quote unquote rule of probability, right? I think it's a heuristic. Like, oh well, why adopt it as a heuristic? Well, maybe you don't adopt it as a heuristic. Maybe you adopt it as like a schmeuristic or something, right? But clearly, if I see a view that posits like a billion random kinds of things, like, oh well, there's non-physical and physical and schmisical and non-schmisical and whatever, and then there's just a view that adopts that maybe there's abstract things and physical things. I mean, like, at least maybe and I assume most other people have the attitude that I would probably adopt a view that doesn't posit the like a million random unnecessary make no sense, right? Like, I mean, that's just an intuitive case for it. Now he's going to say like, oh well, that's not a principled reason in favor of it or whatever, or he's going to try something or say something like that. And just very clearly, I don't care, right? The point isn't that I'm not trying to convince like some random retard that it's necessary they accept what I'm saying. The point is that any reasonable person would accept what I'm saying because it's clearly true, right? Now you might say that you don't have reason to accept the really simple hypothesis over the one that accepts physical and schmisical and non-schmisical and non-physical or whatever. But that's just completely ridiculous. It's ridiculous to me. It's ridiculous to you. It's ridiculous to everyone else here, right? And you know that it's ridiculous to say that. But you're so deep into ratting, you're fucking knee deep in the swamp now, that you realize you're caught. And now, okay, so I'm just going to use my last little bit to note on the rhetoric that Hero did. So the rhetoric that Hero did was really, really ineffective. He kept saying I was like a retard, that I'm a dumb fuck, that I didn't give any reasons or whatever. But note that everyone has heard me give reasons. Hero, you can't keep asking. This is just a point about rhetoric. I'm going to teach you some rhetoric here now. You can't just keep saying that people don't give reasons and think that it makes you win a debate, because what happens is that eventually everyone in the VC will notice that they're giving reasons, and you're just asking them to give reasons when they already have, right? What you need to do is, even if you don't have a substantive response, ask them something that makes sense. Ask them for something that they haven't given yet, right? But clearly I have given reasons for everything that I'm saying. You heard it. Well, actually, maybe you didn't hear it. Maybe you're like busy with something. I won't hold this against you if you're like doing something on the side, right? But at least everyone else here that's tracking heard me give reasons for everything that I'm saying. And so just a little point of rhetoric, just a little tips for your next debate. Actually talk about the things the opponent is talking about. And now that I'm done teaching you rhetoric, I'll just pass it on over to you.
Okay, so just to be clear, you made a couple of statements that I'm obviously going to dig into and keep tearing into your asshole here, because it's evident for everyone in the chat, everyone that will watch the recording, everyone that's listening now, that you don't know what you're talking about, and you take reasons to be some type of thing which can't be explicated upon insofar as they're going to adopt some sort of primitivity, which I also did not. But let's get into this. So you said that any reasonable person would take it to be the case. I don't grant that. You need to motivate why that's going to be true, or why it's going to follow, or why we should even adopt that. You should motivate that. You also said it's going to be clearly true. I want you to give the reason for why it's clearly true and what you take truth to be. I'm going to need you to motivate the theory of truth talk there. Let's also continue, man. Just for recap, you tried to babble a lot by saying that there's going to be some parsimony stick there. I don't grant that. One is going to be parsimonious. I don't grant parsimony as a tool which we adopt when we talk about why you should take a theory over another. And I also don't grant why it's going to be the case that this applies to your view. You're going to need to motivate that as well. I also don't see any reasons for why you even gave some sort of I don't even see how you motivated the talks that you can't give reasons to adopt some sort of, like, maybe I'm not tracking, maybe you're just too retarded for me to understand, you're too low tier that I can't interact here. It's maybe some like transcendental shit going on. But just to be clear, when you talk about motivating something, I agree that there can be degrees of circularity. So when we talk about things that come in degrees, there's going to be a variance there. I'm saying that you can have some circularity. It's going to be non-problematic and give the reasoning there. Or if it is the case, let's just say in Yugi land, right, where the reasonings you give are going to be circular, then hey, dumb fuck retard, maybe you shouldn't make claims like that when we're talking about these types of things. Because if they're unmotivated, if they're unable to be motivated, then you are conceding that you cannot give reasons to adopt the model that you are trying to invoke for your argument, which means that as the person on the negation, you are blatantly conceding, you retard. So let's continue. To recap, you're trying to say that the update for bear design would result with naturalism over simulation theory, which is over theism. I don't grant any of that. You haven't motivated that because, again, you keep on saying, well, I can't give reasons for this. I can't give reasons for that. The only reasons you gave was abductive cases for simulation theorists and things of that nature. I don't even grant that those are the type of things we take to be motivation. You also need to give reasons for that as well. You need to justify that. You also said you agree they're circular, and then you didn't extrapolate. I'm just going to take it as some vicious circularity here. You didn't give any reasons for why the illusionist stance would be motivated, because again, you just said, oh, well, I could switch it up with the eliminativist stance. Okay, I'm going to tell you to motivate that as well. That's obviously going to be something that I'm not letting pass. You also said it's going to be the case that none of my responses respond. That's obviously going to be put into question. I don't even grant that you made some attaculation on what I'm saying, because when we're talking about the types of things I have to do with probability, I can grant that they can be motivated. Again, I'll say it for the third time. I can grant that they will be motivated if it is the case that it's epistemically circular and not viciously circular. That is the distinction, since I have to teach you everything. Just how I'm teaching you how to not lose to people like Haram, SpongeBob, and Synth. I have to teach you what vicious circularity and epistemic circularity is. So you can respond now. If you don't say anything of relevance, I'm going to push for conclusions.
Well, hold on. I think it's best for us to, force conclusions here. We can get Lex versus Infinity instead.
Yeah,
Wait,
so look, I really disagree with the position that you have. So would you like to debate that?
wait,
No,
real quick,
don't
let
let
me
him
just
respond.
let
Don't
me
let him
just
respond.
let
No,
me
no,
just
no, no.
let me just say something real quick. So at the bottom of this debate, at the bottom of everything, we've had one clear confusion on Hero's side. That being, he doesn't get the point I made about his question, can you give a reason in favor of your theory of probability? Right? I pointed out, now I did point out that it's circular, but note that I didn't say that's a reason for me to not give a reason, because I've actually pointed to a reason. What's that person in the background, bro? What am I hearing?
I'm sorry about
But yeah, I said that that's not a reason for me to not give any kind of reason. Right? Note that I've pointed multiple times that I made an intuitive reason, or I give an intuitive reason in favor of my view. Right? Now, I don't know if Hero just didn't hear that. Like, I mean, as I said, if Hero's like distracted, I won't hold this against him. Right? But on multiple occasions, I point to an intuitive reason I've given. Right? And then, okay, so he made a point about ontological parsimony, and then he asked me like, well, why would he accept the claim that like any reasonable person would agree with me? Well, it's just that I think that most people have the same intuitions about probability that I do, right? Now, the kinds of critiques that you give, they're critiques that work if you understand it to be a rule of probability, right? If you think that in all cases you should respect ontological simplicity, right? Note that I never said that. I never said that in all cases you should respect it, right? You can be a particularist about probability notions, and then what I'm saying is consistent. And then, okay, so you got to the fine tuning point. You like asked me for reason for that. Okay, so let's get clear. There's two things he could be disagreeing with. One that, the case that I gave for simulation being more likely than theism given fine tuning, but I've defended that on multiple occasions, and all he's done is ask more and more retarded ramble questions, or he's asking me to believe for like basic transitivity of probability, which is that if A is more likely than B and B is more likely than C, then A is more likely than C. Right now, I'm not sure why he would be denying that. But like on that point, I don't even know what I need to say to that. Like it's just so obviously true. It's true of like any number ever. Like there's actually an argument here. There's a companions and guild argument. Okay, so the companions and guild argument is if you deny transitivity about probability, you deny that rule about numbers too. So you disagree that if A is bigger than B and B is bigger than C, then A is bigger than C. Right? But that's completely ridiculous. That's one of the things that we build all of our mathematical theories on top of. So, okay, so those are the two kinds of things he could be saying. And either way, it's completely ridiculous and he's obviously wrong. We can go to conclusions now if he still wants.
We're not gonna listen to Hero's conclusion right now. We're just gonna go straight into Infinity versus Yugi. Okay?
I think
Look,
Infinity said he.
Is he still here?
I just want to clarify before you drag him. Wait, hold on, chill. So, Lex, would you be willing to debate after dinner, or are you going to be here and debate only right now? Hello?
Niggas
I
should debate
don't know
after
if I'll be here after dinner.
Yes, I
because
eat food. Yes.
I don't know if I'll be here. This is gonna sound like a dodge, but my like dad, his foot's
No,
like
no, bro.
broken.